Sullivan the camel, and I will be your tour guide today. I will take you on a journey that my ancestors took ages ago, 3.5 million years ago, to be more accurate. I know you're not from around this desert region, but you may be surprised to find that I'm not exactly from this region either. Camels are originally from North America, very close to the North Pole. My great-great-great-great-grandparents, to the power of 800,000, actually migrated to the Sahara Desert and from way up north, the Arctic Circle, near the North Pole, to be more precise. You might be wondering how it is that camels could survive in such extreme opposite climates: the hot, arid desert and the frigid, icy polar region. All of this will become more clear to you after you hear my family story. First, let's start from where my ancestors started, the remote Canadian tundra near the North Pole. Every month has an average temperature of less than 10 degrees Celsius, so summers are typically not very warm. During the winter, the days are very dark, up to 24 hours of darkness on many days. The summers are the opposite and may have up to 24 hours of sunlight. The Arctic also lacks precipitation, like the Sahara Desert, and it's sometimes referred to as the polar desert. So what kind of animals are adapted for the extreme Arctic area? Well, let's start with my family, the camels. Right now, you might be wondering, how can camels survive in a place where the winters are 6 months long, where ponds would freeze over, there are blizzards, and days full of darkness? One explanation for our ability to survive in these extreme conditions is that our humps kept us warm and gave us energy in the winters. Also, did you notice my broad feet? They kind of look like snowshoes. This not only helps me tread on sand, but this evolutionary trait also might have helped my ancestors from sinking into the snow. In addition, check out my snout. It's thick and long. This evolutionary feature probably helped my ancestors warm the cold air before inhaling into the lungs. Over time, camels migrated south and evolved into a different variety of camels, some that look like me in Africa and others like llamas in South America. Although camels do not exist in the Arctic today, there are lots of other animals that can withstand the harsh life in the northern polar region. Take the Arctic fox, for example. It has a thick fur coat, which makes it look larger than it really is, and this scares off other animals. The Arctic hare has a thick undercoat that blends in with his surroundings, which makes it difficult for predators to spot. It also has small ears, which lose less body heat than other longer ears. There are many physical adaptations of the narwhal, but the most obvious one is clearly the canine tooth that comes out of the upper left of the narwhal, which it uses to pierce pack ice and fight others. What kind of plants live in the Arctic? And what traits do they have that allows them to survive? Most of the plants in the Arctic are small, grow close together and close to the ground. This protects them from the cold temperatures and the strong winds. The purple saxifrage is an example of one such plant. Prairie crocus also grows close to the ground and is covered with fine hairs, which protects it from the wind. Some plants have cup-shaped flowers that face up to the sun, so the sun's rays are directed towards the center of the flower. These plants stay warmer than the air around them. An example of this adaptation is the Arctic poppy. Now I want to tell you more about my habitat, the desert. Humans classify deserts in a number of different ways, and there are lots of types of deserts. But in a nutshell, a desert is a barren area of land with little precipitation, whether in the form of rain, snow, or fog. Whether the desert is hyper-arid, arid, or semi-arid, all three have less than 25 centimeters precipitation a year. The temperatures in deserts are typically high in the summers and vary considerably in the winters, depending on where the desert is. There are lots of deserts in the world, on every continent. With so many different features, the temperature on a single day in the desert can vary considerably as well, dropping 22 degrees Celsius from day to night. So for example, it could be 30 degrees Celsius at high noon and then just 8 degrees Celsius by nightfall. While the desert doesn't really support human life adequately, camels like myself can manage very well in this area. Not only do we have food storage backpacks built into our bodies, but we also have hair on our backs to prevent sunburn. We also have broad, thick feet to help us tread lightly on sand and prevent us from getting burnt. The long legs also help our bodies stay cool. My leathery mouth allows me to eat thorny plants, while my stretchy nostrils keep the sand out of my lungs. My long eyelashes also help keep the sand out of my eyes. I'm not the only animal out here in this barren land. Here are some of my desert friends. The fennec fox has large ears to let body heat out, kidneys to restrict water loss, and fur to protect itself night and day. The desert tortoise is also adapted for the desert, with its thick shell which it can hide in, to prevent from getting hurt by other creatures. The kangaroo rat has smaller front feet for handling food, and sharp claws for digging burrows. In addition to lots of desert animals, there are plenty of plants in this area as well. Desert plants are among the hardiest types of vegetation found on Earth. Here are some examples of some desert plants and their physical adaptations. Cacti not only have spines and succulent stems to retain water, but also have shallow roots to catch water from light rainfall. The beautiful red acacia trees has feathery leaves protect the bark from the dry winds. The common fig has a deep-rooted system, allows it to survive droughts. Well, now that you have a better understanding of life in intense climates, you humans should give a careful thought into what global warming might do to the animals and plants that have evolved and survived the most extreme conditions on Earth. If the temperatures on Earth continue to get warmer and the snow caps melt in the polar region, different adaptations will be essential for survival. While my camel clan goes back to 1 million years, we could be wiped out in just 1 century. And my larger family, that includes you and all of the animals, plants, and microbes in the tree of life, will certainly be impacted as well. So think before you cut down more trees and use plastic products. One other thing that humans should think about is the advances in science and the impact that they may have on evolution. Due to the Human Genome Project and the other great research efforts, humans can now manipulate individual genetic traits in the DNA of animals and plants. This could possibly lead to the creation of superbreeds and wipe out other diverse features in organisms. While technology can solve problems, it can also create them too. My final word of advice to humans would be to think about the entire tree of life and not just your own species or individual self. Thank you for joining me on this tour. I hope you learned something new about adaptation and evolution.